ignored by the world, yet destined to shake it with the truth of his bloodline. Sometimes the poorest child carries a secret that can change the fate of millions. Welcome to African Tales by Sanan, a place where every story is filled with suspense, emotion, and powerful life lessons. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from and at what time. We love knowing how far our stories travel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another tale that could touch your heart and inspire your soul. The Homeless Boy. Everyone ignored, turned out to be a billionaire's son. In the heart of Mbiru village, where red clay paths wound through mud huts and the sound of drums often echoed at dusk, a story began that would shake the roots of wealth and poverty alike. It was the night of a fierce storm, when rain fell as if the heavens were weeping, and thunder rolled across the distant hills. The villagers huddled inside their small homes, whispering prayers to their ancestors, hoping the lightning would not strike their roofs of grass. Inside a tiny hut on the edge of the village, a woman struggled for her last breath. Her name was Nia, known in the village as the Quiet One, a woman who carried secrets no one dared to ask. Some whispered that she once came from the city, from a wealthy family, but had been cast out. Others said she had married a man from far away who disappeared before the child was born. No one truly knew. On that stormy night, Nia gave birth to a fragile baby boy. Her cries echoed through the hut as an old midwife, Mama Abina, tried to comfort her. "Push, child, push. The ancestors are with you," Mama Abina urged, sweat shining on her wrinkled forehead. With one final cry, the child was born. His skin glistened in the dim light, his tiny fist clenched as if ready to fight the world from the moment he arrived. But Nia was fading fast. She looked at her son with glassy eyes, a weak smile spreading on her lips. My Cato," she whispered. "He must live. He must find his place." And with that final breath, Nia's body went still. The storm raged louder, as if the heavens mourned with the newborn. Mama Abina looked down at the crying child, shaking her head. "Orphan before his first cry ends," she muttered. "What curse or blessing follows you, little one?" The next morning, the villagers gathered outside Nia's hut. Some looked on with pity, but many more with suspicion. "A bastard child," one man spat. "No father to claim him. He will bring misfortune." "Hush!" another woman said, though her tone lacked compassion. "Better he be sent to the orphanage. He will not survive otherwise." And so, Cato's life began in whispers and rejection. He was taken to the Mbiru orphanage, a crumbling building at the edge of the village. Though Mama Abena was tasked with raising him, her heart was hardened by years of poverty and disappointment. She looked at the baby in her arms and scoffed. "Another mouth to feed, another burden. Let us see if you can survive, little Cato." From his first days, Cato knew hunger. The orphanage was no place of kindness, but of neglect. Children fought over scraps of porridge, and those who cried too loudly were beaten into silence. Mama Abina often favored those who brought her gifts from villagers, while the rest she ignored. Cato, however, seemed different. Even as a baby, his eyes shone with a strange strength, as though he knew the world had already chosen a hard path for him. When other children whimpered, he would sit quietly, staring at the world with a depth too heavy for his years. By the time he could walk, Cato had already learned what it meant to be invisible. Villagers passed him by without a glance. Children in the streets mocked him as the fatherless boy, and Mama Abena reminded him daily that he was unwanted. "Remember, Cato," she hissed one morning as she thrust a wooden bowl into his hands, half filled with the watery porridge. "You have nothing. You are nothing. Children like you should be grateful for crumbs." But Cato's heart whispered otherwise. Somewhere deep inside, he felt he was meant for more. At night, lying on the cold mat with other orphans, he whispered to himself, "One day, they will see me. One day, I will not be hungry. One day, I will be more than this." Still, the days stretched into years, and the boy grew thin and pale. His ribs showed through his skin, his clothes were little more than rags, and yet his eyes never lost their fire. By the age of 8, Cato was known among the children as the boy who never gave up. When others cried, he comforted them. When Mama Abina struck him with a cane for daring to speak, he stood tall and refused to shed a tear. "Why do you not cry?" one of the boys, Seifu, asked him one night. "Because tears will not fill my belly," Cato replied quietly. "Only strength will." Yet even strength had its limits. One afternoon, when the sun burned hot and the orphans sat in silence over their tiny bowls of porridge, Cato's hunger overcame him. His hands shook as he stared at the thin gruel, his stomach growling loudly. Without thinking, he lifted his bowl and walked slowly to Mama Abina, who sat in the corner eating yam and stew. "Please, Mama," he said, his voice trembling. "May I have more food?" The room went silent. Every child froze. No one ever dared to ask for more. Mama Abina's eyes widened with fury. She slammed her bowl on the table and stood, towering over him. "You dare ask me for more, you worthless boy? Do you think you are a millionaire's son?" she screamed. The children gasped. "I am hungry," Cato whispered, clutching his bowl. "Just a little more, please." Mama Abina's cane came down across his back with a crack. Cato fell to his knees, but he did not cry. "You will learn your place," she hissed. "You are nothing but dust. Billionaires and millionaires eat well, but not you. You will eat what I give you, or starve." The other children stared in silence, some with pity, others with fear. Cato dragged himself back to his mat, his body aching, but in his heart, something had changed. That night, he whispered again into the darkness, "I will not be nothing. One day, they will know who I am. One day, I will prove them wrong." The beating Cato received for asking more food became a legend in the orphanage. The children whispered about it for days, telling the story with both fear and admiration. "He asked for more," one little girl, Amma, said in awe. "No one has ever done that before." "He was punished," another boy muttered. "Better to stay silent than to be beaten." But Cato had learned something that day. Silence had never saved anyone. If he wanted a better life, he would have to endure pain and still rise. Mama Abina watched him with a wary eye after that. She recognized the stubborn fire in him and despised it. "Such pride!" she spat one evening as she yanked his bowl away before he could finish. "Pride will starve you quicker than hunger." Yet secretly, even Mama Abina feared the boy. His resilience was unsettling. His refusal to break unnerved her. She often muttered to herself that such a child could only bring trouble. Beyond the orphanage walls, villagers still gossiped about Cato's birth. They remembered the storm, the mysterious mother, and the fact that no man had stepped forward as father. "Mark my words," an elder said one evening at the village fire. "That boy carries a secret. Blood does not lie. Perhaps he belongs to a rich man who abandoned him." Another scoffed. "Or perhaps he is cursed. A child born in thunder and rain with no father. No billionaire will come looking for him. He will rot where he is." The words traveled like smoke, reaching even the children in the orphanage. They teased Cato with cruel names: child of thunder, bastard boy, beggar's son. But each insult only deepened his resolve. Cato whispered to himself at night, "I am more than their words. One day they will know." As the years passed, the orphanage grew worse. Food grew scarcer. Punishments harsher. Mama Abina grew older but no kinder. By age 10, Cato was already tall for his age, thin but strong. He had become a silent protector for the younger children. When Mama Abina struck little ones too hard, Cato would sometimes step forward, taking blows meant for them. "Why do you do that?" Amma asked one night as she wiped blood from his back. "Because one day, someone will stand for me," Cato replied softly. Still, hunger gnawed at him endlessly. His ribs jutted out, his clothes were torn rags, and his feet were bare. He watched as wealthy merchants from Mombasa City visited the village, their cars gleaming, their clothes rich and colorful. They handed Mama Abina coins to bless their journeys, but never once looked at the children. Cato's young heart ached with longing. He dreamed of being one of them, not to flaunt wealth, but to use it to end the suffering he knew too well. "Why do some have everything while we have nothing?" he asked Amma one night. "Because that is the way of the world," she whispered. "No," Cato said firmly. "The world can change, and I will change it." The defining moment came one dry season when famine struck Mbiru village. Food became even scarcer, and Mama Abina grew more vicious. One evening, as the children gathered around bowls of porridge so thin it looked like muddy water, Cato refused to eat. "I will not live on crumbs anymore," he declared, his voice carrying through the silent room. Mama Abina's eyes narrowed. "What did you say, boy?" "I said I will not live like this. I will not die in hunger. I am worth more than this." Gasps rose from the children. No one ever spoke back to Mama Abina. "You worthless child," she screamed, raising her cane. "You think you are a billionaire's son? You think riches will fall from the sky for you? You will be nothing but a beggar until your last breath." The cane struck his shoulder, but Cato stood tall, refusing to fall this time. His voice shook but carried conviction. Even beggars can become kings. Even homeless boys can rise. And one day, Mama, I will show you. Mama Abina froze, her cane trembling in her hand. For the first time, fear flickered in her eyes. The boy was no longer a child. He was a flame she could not extinguish. That night, Cato lay awake on his mat, hunger gnawing at him, but his spirit ablaze. He remembered his mother's last whisper, words he had overheard from the midwife. He must find his place. What place? Cato wondered aloud. What destiny waits for me? Am I nothing, or am I something more? The whispers of the village rang in his ears. Maybe he was cursed, maybe abandoned. Yet a new voice rose in his heart, strong and clear. You are not forgotten. You are not nothing. It was then Cato made his decision. He would leave the orphanage. He would leave Mbiru village, where people only saw him as a burden. Somewhere beyond, in the bustling streets of Mombasa City, his destiny waited. He did not know how, but he felt it in his bones. He was not born to live and die as a hungry orphan. He was born for something greater, something that would one day shake the world of millionaires and billionaires, something that would make his name remembered. And so, beneath the vast African sky, as stars blinked like watchful ancestors, young Cato prepared to step into a future filled with both danger and hope. Cato's hunger grew worse with every passing week. His body thinned like dry branches in the Harmattan wind. Even when he tried to stand tall, his knees sometimes trembled beneath him. Yet his spirit refused to break. He told himself again and again, I was not born only for porridge. I was not born to die in silence. One evening, as the children waited for food, the pot was nearly empty. Mama Abena banged her spoon against the rim and shouted, Line up! Quickly now! The line shuffled forward, and when Cato reached the front, there was barely a ladle left. Mama Abena sneered, Nothing left for you, boy. You can wait until tomorrow. The children gasped. Cato looked at her with hollow eyes. But, Mama, I have not eaten since yesterday. She slammed the lid of the pot. Then fast again today. Perhaps hunger will teach you humility. Cato clenched his fists but said nothing. He turned away slowly, each step heavy. Amma tugged at his shirt, whispering, "Here, take half of mine." She held out her small bowl. "No." Cato shook his head. "Eat, Amma. You need it. I will endure." That night he lay awake, his stomach screaming in protest. Yet he whispered into the darkness, "This is not my end. Someday I will eat as a millionaire eats. Someday I will feed every child like me." The next morning, hunger forced him into the village streets. He wandered barefoot past stalls where vendors sold roasted peanuts, fried fish, and steaming plantains. The smells were torture. He approached a fruit seller timidly. "Please, Mama, may I sweep your stall for a banana peel?" The woman frowned. "Go away, boy. I cannot give food for free." He tried another stall and another, until finally an old fisherman tossed him a small smoked fish head. Cato devoured it behind a tree, tears rolling down his cheeks as the salt burned his tongue. For him, it was not only food, it was survival. And survival, he promised himself, was only the first step towards something greater. Back at the orphanage, Mama Abina caught him with the smell of fish still on his fingers. Her eyes narrowed. "So, you steal from the villagers now?" "I did not steal," Cato said firmly. "It was given to me." She struck him with her cane, the sound echoing off the walls. "Liar! Even if it was given, you do not deserve it. Boys like you will never be millionaires. You will always crawl for scraps." Cato bit back the pain, whispering through clenched teeth, "I will not crawl forever." The other children began to look at him differently. Some mocked him, fearing Mama Abina's wrath would spill over onto them. But others found hope in his defiance. One night, as the wind whistled through the cracks of the orphanage roof, little Amma curled beside him. "Cato, do you really believe what you say? That you will one day eat like a billionaire?" Cato smiled faintly in the dark. "Yes, and when that day comes, you will sit beside me. We will eat together, and we will never go hungry again." She closed her eyes, clutching the promise as if it were food itself. But hunger has a way of turning hope into desperation. Weeks later, when the famine deepened, the orphans were forced to beg openly in the marketplace. Mama Abina sent them out like dogs. "Bring coins. Bring bread. Bring anything. And remember, half of what you get is mine." Cato stood by the roadside, watching rich traders pass in fine clothes. His stomach ached, but his pride burned hotter. He whispered, "I was not born to beg." A wealthy man in flowing robes passed, and coins jingled in his pocket. The children swarmed him, stretching their hands. Cato stood still, refusing to join. The man glanced at him, surprised by the boy's posture. For a brief second, their eyes met. Something in Cato's gaze unsettled him. Like the boy knew a truth no one else could see. The man quickly turned away, tossing a coin at Mama Abina instead. Cato did not chase it. He simply whispered again, "One day, I will have more than coins." That night, Mama Abina stormed into the dormitory. "Cato, you brought back nothing. You defy me at every turn. You think you are better than the rest. You think you are a hidden prince, a rich man's son." Her cane raised high, she brought it down across his back. Pain seared through him, but his voice rose above it. "Maybe I am. Maybe I'm a billionaire's son. forgotten and ignored. And if not, then I will become one myself. You can beat me, but you cannot take that from me." The children gasped. Mama Abina froze. Her eyes wide at his audacity. Her hand shook as she lowered the cane. For the first time, she saw not just a hungry boy, but a force she could not control. Well, the days after that were tense. Mama Abena avoided Cato's gaze, muttering curses under her breath, but the children whispered his words to each other like secret songs. "Maybe we are more than this. Maybe one of us could rise." Amma repeated it often. "Cato says even beggars can become kings." And though their bellies remained empty, their hearts carried a spark of something dangerous: hope. But hope could not feed the stomach. The hunger clawed deeper, and Cato knew he could not stay. One evening, after another meager meal of watery porridge, he sat outside staring at the distant glow of Lumbasa City. The air carried the faint hum of traffic, the promise of a world larger than a Mabiru village. "Amma," he whispered, "I will not stay here forever. My path lies out there. If I remain, hunger will kill me. But if I go, perhaps I will find the life I dream of." Tears welled in her eyes. "Don't leave us, Cato. You are all we have." He touched her shoulder gently. "I will not forget you. One day, when I am more than this, when I rise to the place that is mine, I will return. I will come back not as a beggar, but as a son of fortune, a billionaire's son." Amma nodded, though her heart broke, and as the moon climbed high, casting its silver light over the orphanage, Cato made his silent vow. He would leave Mbiru behind. He would leave the hunger, the cruelty, the endless nights of empty bowls. Ahead of him waited pain, danger, and uncertainty, but also the possibility of destiny. It was there, in the darkness of that night, that the boy who had been ignored, beaten, and starved began to take his first steps toward becoming the man the world could no longer deny. The road to Lumbasa City was long and harsh. Cato walked barefoot along dusty paths, the sun burning his back, his lips dry with thirst. Each step carried him farther from Mbiru village, farther from the chains of Mama Abena's orphanage. He carried nothing but the ragged shirt on his back and the small necklace his mother had left him at birth. It was the only thing he had never let go of, even when hunger tore everything else away. At night, he slept beneath trees, listening to the sounds of hyenas howling in the distance. Some nights, the hunger clawed at him so fiercely he thought he might collapse and never rise again. But whenever despair whispered in his ear, he clenched the necklace tight and reminded himself, "I was not born for porridge alone. I was born to rise. Even if the world ignores me now, I will not be ignored forever." Days later, he saw it at last, the skyline of Lumbasa City, rising above the horizon like a kingdom of glass and steel. Cars roared along wide roads, tall buildings gleamed in the sun, and the smell of roasted meat and street food filled the air. It was a world he had never known, loud and alive, full of riches and temptations. His heart pounded as he stepped into the city. "Here," he whispered, "my story will change." But the city was not kind to homeless boys. Crowds shoved past him without a glance. Vendors pushed him away from their stalls when he came too close. "No loitering," one man shouted. "Move along, beggar." Another waved a stick at him. The streets were overflowing with people, but none saw him. He was invisible, just as he had been in the village. Nights were worse. He curled beneath bridges or in the shadows of markets, rats scurrying around him as he tried to sleep. His belly groaned with hunger, and cold winds whipped through his thin rags. Some nights he cried quietly into his arm, though no one heard. "I will not break," he told himself even as tears wet his face. I will not break. It was during one of those nights that he met them. A group of boys, older than him, surrounded him in the alley where he lay. Their leader stepped forward, a tall, wiry man with sharp eyes and a scar across his cheek. He grinned, showing gold teeth. You look hungry, boy, he said smoothly. Name's Mosi. These are my boys. We own these streets. Who are you? Cato, he answered quietly, sitting up. Cato, Mosi repeated, nodding. A strong name, but strong names mean nothing on empty stomachs. You sleep here alone? You steal nothing? You eat nothing? You'll die in a week. I do not steal, Cato said firmly. Mosi laughed, and the others joined in. Don't steal, he says. Tell me, boy, you think millionaires and billionaires got rich by begging politely? No, they took what they wanted, and so will you, if you want to live. Cato clenched his fists. I will live, but I will not be a thief. Mosi's grin widened. We'll see. He tossed a piece of bread to him. Cato's stomach roared. His hands trembled as he caught it. He devoured it in seconds. The boys laughed again. See? Already you eat from our hand. Tomorrow you'll eat from their pockets. Cato wiped his mouth, shame burning inside him. Yet the taste of bread stayed on his tongue, reminding him that survival sometimes demanded what pride resisted. That night, as he followed Mosi and his gang into the deeper alleys of Lumbasa, he whispered to himself, This is not my path, but maybe through them I will find the road I seek. The gang's hideout was a crumbling building hidden behind the market. Inside, a dozen boys lounged, some eating, some playing dice, others counting stolen coins. Mosi clapped Cato on the shoulder. Welcome to the family, boy. We are the forgotten ones, just like you, but we do not beg. We take. We survive. Cato looked around. These boys were no different from him. Thin, hungry, ignored. Yet they had chosen a path of shadows. Mosi leaned closer, his voice smooth and dangerous. Listen, Cato. You want to be somebody? You want to be more than a starving boy? Then steal. Just a coin, just a loaf, just enough to live. This city doesn't care if you live or die. But with us, you will eat. Cato swallowed hard. Hunger gnawed at him, but his mother's voice echoed in his memory. He must find his place. Was this his place? In the shadows, taking from others? Mosi slapped him on the back, mistaking his silence for agreement. Good. Tomorrow you will come with us. Tomorrow you will eat well. That night, Cato lay awake on the cold floor of the hideout, boys snoring around him. He stared at the ceiling, his heart heavy. I do not want to steal, he whispered, but I do not want to die. Beat morning broke over Lumbasa with the sound of horns, vendors calling, and the shuffle of hurried feet. Cato woke on the cold floor of the hideout, the rumble of hunger steady as a drumbeat inside him. He sat up, clutching the small necklace at his chest as if it were a promise. Mosi sauntered over, all swagger and gold teeth. Up, Cato. Today you learn how to live. I want to live, Cato said quietly, but not as a thief. Mosi laughed. Words are cheap. Food is not. He tossed Cato a piece of stale bread. Cato caught it without thinking, then hesitated. What must I do? Simple, Mosi said. You walk with Django. You watch. You learn. Then you do. The name sent a shiver through the room. Django stood from the corner, a slab of a man with a heavy brow and eyes like iron. He didn't waste words. He pointed toward the door. Move. They slipped into the press of the market streets. Cato tried to blend into the flow of bodies, to breathe like the city breathed. Django spoke in low commands. See the woman with the basket? Easy, Mark. The cloth seller? Watch his hands. The rich men in white robes look for the one distracted. The world tells you who is careless. Your stomach decides if you listen. I will not hurt anyone, Cato murmured. We don't hurt, Django replied. We take. The city replaces what we take by nightfall. This is the river. You drink or drown. Cato watched as a boy from Mosey's crew brushed past a merchant and came away with a small leather purse. It was quick, clean, almost invisible. The boy vanished into the crowd before the merchant even turned. You see? Django said. I see, Cato answered, and his heart sank. They moved on. A little girl clutched her mother's dress, licking sugar from her fingers. A man laughed loudly into a phone, flashing a watch that cost more than the orphanage's roof. A woman in bright kente cloth argued about a price, coins glinting in her palm. The world was noise and color and distraction. Django nudged him. Your turn. Cato stared at a man counting notes beside a tea stall. He could feel the hunger tugging him forward, the dizzy heat of desire, the memory of porridge thin as water. He took one step, then another. He stopped. No. Django's head snapped toward him. What did you say? No, Cato repeated. I won't steal. A muscle jumped in Django's jaw. For a second, Cato thought the man would strike him there in the street, but Django only stared, face unreadable. You think you're better than hunger? I think I am more than hunger, Cato said, voice shaking but steady. I think I'm more than a shadow. Django turned away with a grunt. Come. They walked in silence. After a while, Django spoke again. I was like you once, proud. Hunger cures pride. Remember that. Then why didn't you force me? Cato asked quietly. Django didn't answer. By evening, Mosey was waiting in the alley like a coiled snake. Well, he refused, Django said. Mosey's smile never reached his eyes. Noble boy, tell me, Cato, did nobility fill your belly? Did it taste better than bread? It tasted like truth, Cato replied. Mosey chuckled. Truth is a luxury for men with full pockets. You have an empty bowl and a big mouth. I have a future, Cato said, and I won't sell it for coins. Mosey's laughter died. Careful. Futures are fragile. He stepped closer, voice soft and dangerous. I like you, Cato. You have fire. Fire is useful if it burns for me. You will try again tomorrow. If I must choose between stealing and starving, you will choose me, Mosey finished, because I am the difference between life and death. Cato lifted his chin. I will find another difference. That night, the crew ate a stolen stew while Cato gnawed the last of his stale bread. Zola slipped in late, eyes tired, shawl frayed. She noticed the untouched bowl set aside for Cato and nudged it toward him. Eat, she said softly. It isn't mine, Cato whispered. You think the world gives anyone what is theirs? Zola sat beside him, voice low. Listen, boy. I don't like what Mosey does. I don't like what hunger does to people. But if you die for pride, no child eats from your grave. I won't die, Cato said. I'll build something. One day, I'll feed children who never learned to beg. Zola gave a small, sad smile. Then stay alive long enough to do it. Cato looked at her closely. Why are you with them? Zola's eyes flicked toward the door where Mosey's laughter echoed. Because sometimes the only way to keep your light is to hide it. Sometimes the only way to protect a child is to walk beside wolves. Will you help me leave? Cato asked. Zola held his gaze for a long time. When the road appears, I will show it to you. Days bled into one another. Django led. Cato watched. Mosey waited. Each morning the same test returned. Each evening the same refusal. The crew began to mutter. He thinks he's better than us. He's dead weight. Mosey should throw him to the dogs. But some of the boys watched him with a new kind of attention, curiosity wrapped in hope. A few began to pocket a little less, to walk a little slower, to remember the feeling of shame that poverty had burned out of them. Cato noticed, and a quiet resolve took root. One afternoon, the market erupted, shouts, a crowd, a man chasing a thief who'd taken his day's earnings. The thief stumbled, the purse flew, the crowd surged. Cato moved without thinking. He caught the purse midair, landed hard, and held it out to the merchant. Yours. The man stared, stunned. Boy, you caught it? It was falling, Cato said simply. The merchant looked past him at the circling crew, then back at Cato. Take this, he whispered, pressing a small packet into Cato's hand. Bread, eggs, and come tomorrow before sunrise. I need help unloading the truck. Honest hands. Cato nodded once. I will come. Mosey's voice slid in like a blade. What did he give you? Cato opened his palm, bread wrapped in paper, 2 hard-boiled eggs still warm. His stomach cramped at the smell. He held Mosey's gaze and tore the bread in half. Share, he said, handing one half to the nearest boy. Silence. Then the boy took it with shaking fingers. Another boy reached for the egg. Cato handed it to him. He ate what remained, enough to quiet the roar inside him, not enough to drown his mind. Mosey's smile was pure ice. You think charity replaces loyalty? I think loyalty without mercy is just fear, Cato said. Django let out a breath that might have been a laugh, might have been sorrow. Night came with the taste of change. Zola found Cato on the steps, the city humming like a great machine around them. You made a choice today, she said. I made many, Cato replied. I will make them again tomorrow, she nodded. Then listen. Mosey is planning a big pull. A rich merchant from the port. He wants you there. He thinks he can break you in the chaos. I won't go, Cato said. You might not have a choice, Zola warned. But if it turns bad, run toward the tea stalls near the river road. A woman there, Auntie Halima, owes me a favor. Say my name. She will hide you. Why are you helping me? Because someone once helped me, Zola said, and the ache in her voice told a story she did not have the strength to share. The next day dawned sharp and blue. Mosey gathered the crew. Today we feast. They fanned out through the crowded port market. The rich merchant arrived, rings flashing, voice booming orders. Mosey's boys swirled around him like smoke. Django's hand twitched. Another boy bumped a guard. A purse loosened. A distraction flared. Cato stepped back. The river road glimmered to his left. The tea stalls steamed to his right. Zola's warning beat in his ears. A shout. A guard lunged. The market convulsed. Mosey's eyes locked on Cato with a silent order. Move! Cato turned and ran. He cut through bodies, dodged a hand that grabbed at his shirt, leapt a crate, and sprinted toward the tea stalls. Auntie Halima! He cried. Zola sent me! A woman with flour on her hands shoved up a counter flap. Inside, boy! He slid in as guards thundered past. Auntie Halima dropped the flap and stacked sacks against it, breathing hard. You bring trouble, she said, peering at him. I bring truth, Cato panted. I won't steal. Auntie Halima studied his face, then nodded once. Zola was right about you. They hid until the market calmed. When the noise faded to the ordinary song of Lumbasa, Auntie Halima pushed a plate toward him. Eat, then leave by the back, and listen. This city eats boys like bread. If you will not be eaten, you must become more than a boy. I will, Cato said. I will become the kind of man who feeds the city instead. She chuckled. Big words. Come before dawn tomorrow. I always need strong arms. I pay little, but I pay honest. I'll come, Cato said. He stepped into the alley with the necklace warm against his skin and the taste of honest food still in his mouth. Above him, A billboard flashed the face of a famous industrial magnate, a man the city called a billionaire. Cato stared at it, then at his hands. "One day," he whispered, "one day I will be more than a shadow in this city. One day I will be the story." Behind him, a figure moved from the darker shadow, Jingo. He had followed quietly, eyes tired, jaw set. "You chose your road," Jingo said. "I chose my name," Cato answered. Jingo nodded toward the river. "Names become roads. Roads become homes." "You could leave with me," Cato said. A flicker of something, regret maybe, crossed Jingo's face. "Not yet." He held out a small pouch. "Take it." Cato frowned. "What is it?" "Coins," Jingo said. "From my share. Not stolen today. Old savings. Don't argue." He pressed the pouch into Cato's hand. "Buy shoes. Buy a shirt that doesn't scare customers. When you are a man who hires men, remember there was one wolf who did not bite you." Cato swallowed hard. "I will remember." Jingo stepped back into the shade. "Mosi will not forget this. Run fast. Grow faster." Cato turned toward the river road, toward the morning work, toward the thin thread of a life that might finally be his. In the hum of Lumbasa, he made a vow that felt like iron. "I will not be what hunger tried to make of me. I will be a success story, a rags to riches truth, a hidden heir who turns pain into power. I will build a table where no child eats last. I will rise, not only for me, but for all who were ignored." The city answered with its endless chorus, and Cato walked into it, no longer invisible, not yet known, but certain, utterly certain, that destiny had heard him. Cato rose before dawn to keep his word to Auntie Halima. The market was only half awake, vendors setting up stalls, smoke rising from early cooking fires. She waved him over with flour still clinging to her arms. "You came," she said. "I said I would." She nodded, pointing to sacks of maize stacked high. "Carry those to the back. Careful with your back, boy. Strength means nothing if you waste it." Cato worked until sweat dripped down his face. He carried sacks, swept floors, scrubbed pots. His arms ached, but his heart felt lighter than it had in years. For the first time, he was earning food with honest hands. When Auntie Halima pressed a small bowl of rice and beans into his palms, he bowed his head in gratitude. Eat, Cato, not stolen, not begged, earned. The taste was different. It filled him not just with warmth, but with pride. For several days, he returned. Each morning, he worked. Each night, he slept in corners or alleys, clutching his necklace close. Slowly, his shoulders grew broader, his steps steadier. He even began to smile. But joy in Lumbasa never lasted long. One afternoon, the market was crowded with merchants from across the region. Among them was a wealthy man draped in white robes and gold chains. His name was whispered with awe, Mr. Obadel, a merchant who supplied goods to half the city. People stepped aside when he walked, guards flanking him. Cato was carrying crates for Auntie Halima when the commotion began. Someone shouted, "Thief!" and all eyes turned. Mr. Obadele's purse was gone. His guards pushed through the crowd, scanning faces. "There!" one guard roared, pointing at Cato. The crate slipped from his hands as they grabbed his arm. "I didn't take it," Cato cried, struggling. "I didn't even touch him." The guards ignored him, twisting his arms behind his back. "We saw you near him. You dropped your crate when the purse went missing." "Guilty," the crowd murmured, some shaking their heads, others sneering. "These street boys are all the same," someone muttered. "They look innocent, but their hands are quick." Auntie Halima pushed forward, her face red with fury. "Leave him. This boy has worked for me every morning." "He is not a thief," the guard shoved her back. Do not protect criminals, woman. Cato's chest heaved. Search me. You won't find the purse because I never took it. Mosey's laughter floated from the edge of the crowd. He leaned lazily against a stall, eyes gleaming with malice. What a shame, he called. The honest boy caught red-handed. Zola was beside him, her eyes filled with sorrow. She did not speak, but the truth burned in her gaze. Mosey had planted the purse near Cato, framing him to break his pride. The guards dragged Cato forward. Mr. Obadell scowled. A boy like this? You disgrace the market. Shall I have him taken to the police? Yes, someone shouted. Let him learn. No, Auntie Halima cried. He is not guilty. But the crowd was against him, eager for a scapegoat. Cato's heart pounded. He had dreamed of the city as his salvation, and now it was about to devour him whole. Then, from the back of the crowd, a calm, commanding voice rose. Release the boy. The market went silent. An elderly man stepped forward, dressed in a simple but elegant agbada, his gray beard neatly trimmed, his staff tapping the ground with authority. His name carried weight, Chief Baraka, a respected elder known for fairness and wisdom. The crowd parted for him as if the air itself made way. The guard hesitated. Chief, we caught him. You caught nothing but your own haste, Chief Baraka interrupted. His eyes rested on Cato, studying him deeply. I have been watching. This boy's hands are calloused from labor, not quick from theft. Let him go. But the purse! Check the others, Chief Baraka ordered, his tone sharp as iron. You will find your thief elsewhere. The guards exchanged uneasy glances, then reluctantly released Cato. He stumbled forward, rubbing his wrists, his eyes locked with Chief Baraka's, filled with gratitude and disbelief. I didn't take it, Cato whispered. I know, Chief Baraka replied, and I will not let lies chain an innocent boy. The crowd shifted, embarrassed. Some muttered apologies, others quickly dispersed, eager to forget their eagerness to condemn. Mosey slipped away into the shadows, his smile fading. Zola followed, her head bowed. Mr. Obadell huffed. If the chief says so, then perhaps. But watch this one. Street boys cannot be trusted. Chief Baraka's eyes narrowed. And yet sometimes the streets hide sons of destiny. He turned to Cato. Come with me, boy. You cannot walk these roads alone any longer. Auntie Halima's eyes softened. Go. Cato, this is the path you prayed for. Cato hesitated, then bowed. Thank you, Auntie. I will not forget you. She squeezed his hand. Rise high, boy. Rise so no child of hunger remains forgotten. And with that, Cato followed Chief Baraka through the market, the whispers of the crowd swirling behind him. For the first time in his life, someone had stood for him, someone powerful, someone respected. The boy who had been ignored was finally seen. Cato followed Chief Baraka through the winding streets of Lumbasa, his heart racing faster than his footsteps. The elder moved slowly but with authority, each tap of his staff demanding respect. People greeted him as he passed, some bowing slightly, others murmuring blessings. To walk beside such a man felt unreal, as though Cato had stumbled into a dream he was not worthy of. When they reached Chief Baraka's compound, the boy's eyes widened. The gates opened into a courtyard shaded by mango trees, children playing in the distance, and servants moving about with calm efficiency. It was not wealth, like Mosey flaunted with stolen coins, nor arrogance like Obadelli carried on his shoulders. It was dignity, quiet, steady dignity. For the first time in his life, Cato stepped into a place where order and kindness seemed to live side by side. Sit, Chief Baraka said, pointing to a carved wooden stool. A servant brought water, setting it before the boy. Cato hesitated, unused to such treatment. He lifted the calabash with trembling hands and drank, the coolness soothing his parched throat. Chief Baraka studied him in silence for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. You carry yourself differently from other street boys. Your eyes do not dart like thieves. Your words do not beg like beggars. Tell me, Kato, what is your story? Kato lowered the cup slowly. His voice was soft but steady. I was born in Mbiru village. My mother died when I came into the world. My father, no one knows. I grew up in the orphanage, under Mama Abina. I left because hunger was killing me more than her cane. I came to the city to find something better. I found work with Auntie Halima, and today I found accusation. The chief leaned back, stroking his beard. And you insist you did not steal? I swear it on my mother's grave, Kato said firmly. I will not stain her name with lies. I am poor, but I am not a thief. Chief Baraka's eyes softened, but his voice remained measured. Do you know why I believed you when others were ready to condemn you? Kato shook his head. Because when the guard held you, your eyes did not look for escape. They looked for truth. Thieves hide behind anger or fear. You stood in hunger and still spoke with dignity. That is not the mark of a criminal. That is the mark of destiny. Kato blinked, the words sinking deep. Destiny? Yes, Chief Baraka said. I have lived many years. I have seen orphans rise to lead villages, and I have seen sons of chiefs fall into disgrace. Bloodlines matter, but character matters more. Tell me, Kato, what do you want in this life? Kato's hands tightened around the necklace at his chest. He lifted his eyes to the elder. I want to be more than forgotten. I want to be the man who feeds those who hunger. I want to be a success story, not just for myself, but for every child who was told he is nothing. I want to rise, as high as a billionaire's son. The courtyard grew quiet. Chief Baraka tapped his staff against the ground thoughtfully. Then he leaned forward. Perhaps that is exactly what you are. Kato frowned. What do you mean? The chief's gaze lingered on the necklace around the boy's neck. That trinket. Where did you get it? My mother gave it to me the day I was born, Kato said. It is all I have left of her. Baraka's eyes sharpened. May I see it? Hesitant, Kato lifted the necklace over his head and placed it in the elder's palm. The chief studied it closely, running his thumb over the markings. His brow furrowed, then lifted in surprise. These are not common carvings, he murmured. This symbol belongs to the house of Kamau. Do you know the name? Kato shook his head. No. Alhaji Kamau, Chief Baraka said slowly, one of the wealthiest men in this land, a billionaire many times over. His companies stretch across the continent. He is power itself. And this, he lifted the necklace, is the emblem of his lineage. Kato's breath caught. How could I carry such a thing? I was born in a hut, not in a palace. That is the mystery, Baraka said, and mysteries must be solved. Tomorrow, I will send for someone who knows the history of the Kamau family. We will see if your necklace tells a story greater than you imagine. Kato's voice shook. And if it is true, the elder's eyes glimmered, then you are not just a boy who begged for porridge. You are the son of fortune, hidden in plain sight. Kato could not speak. His mind reeled with images. His mother's dying whisper, Mama Abena's cruelty, the jeers of children calling him a beggar's son. Could it all have been a lie? Could he truly be the heir of a billionaire? Chief Baraka placed the necklace back into his hands. Do not hope too quickly, boy. Truth can lift or it can break. But know this, no matter whose blood runs in your veins, I see greatness in you. You will not walk these streets alone again. Kato bowed his head, tears welling in his eyes. For the first time, someone powerful believed in him. For the first time, He felt the weight of possibility pressing on his shoulders. That night, he lay on a mat in Chief Baraka's compound, fed and sheltered. The moonlight slipped through the window, silver on his skin. He held the necklace tightly and whispered to the silence, "Mother, if you can hear me, tell me, is it true? Am I a billionaire's son?" The wind rustled the mango leaves outside, as if the ancestors themselves were answering. Cato closed his eyes, trembling with both fear and hope. The world that had ignored him was about to change forever. For a few brief days, Cato tasted peace. Chief Baraka's compound was unlike anything he had known. There was food each morning, simple but plentiful. There was water to wash, a mat to sleep on, and voices that did not curse him when he spoke. The servants treated him with quiet respect, for no one dared to insult a boy under the chief's protection. But peace is a fragile guest. It never stays long in the life of a boy marked by shadows. Mosi had not forgotten. The humiliation at the market still burned in him. To see Cato walk away free, protected by the chief, was an insult he could not forgive. He gathered his boys in a narrow alley, their faces lit by a smoking lantern. "The boy thinks he can leave us," Mosi sneered, his gold tooth flashing in the light. "He thinks he can stand tall beside elders and forget where he came from. But he was mine. Once a street rat, always a street rat. We will remind him." Django said nothing, his jaw tight. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed. One of the younger boys muttered, "But Chief Baraka, he is powerful. Even the police bow to him. Should we not let the boy go?" Mosi slammed his fist against the wall. "No one leaves me. Not Cato, not anyone. If I let him walk free, the rest of you will think you can do the same. Tomorrow night, we strike." Zola sat in the corner, silent, her shawl wrapped tightly around her shoulders. She knew better than to argue openly, but her heart twisted. She had seen the fire in Cato's eyes, the truth in his words. To drag him back into darkness felt like crushing a seed before it had the chance to grow. That night, when the others slept, she whispered into the shadows, "Ancestors, give me strength. If I must choose, let me choose rightly." The next evening, Cato was sweeping the courtyard when he sensed eyes on him. He looked up and saw Zola standing at the gate, her face pale beneath the moonlight. "Zola," he whispered, walking closer, "what are you doing here?" She grabbed his arm urgently. "Listen to me. Mosi is coming for you. He cannot stand that you escaped. Tonight, before the moon is high, they will be here." Cato's chest tightened. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," she hesitated, her voice trembling, "because once I was like you. I dreamed of leaving the shadows. I never could. But you might. If you stay here, they will drag you back. You must be ready." Cato's hand clenched around his broom. "I will not run. I will not hide forever." "Then you are a fool," she snapped, tears in her eyes. "You think the chief's walls will protect you? Mosi has no fear of walls. He will burn them if he must. Please, Cato, listen. When the time comes, do not fight alone. Promise me." Cato looked at her, torn between gratitude and suspicion. "Why should I trust you?" "You still stand with them." Zola's shoulders sagged. "Because if I betray you tonight, my soul will never rest. Believe me or not, but remember my words." Before he could reply, she slipped back into the shadows, vanishing like smoke. That night, Chief Baraka sat with Cato under the mango tree, the glow of a lantern between them. "You are troubled," the elder observed. Cato hesitated. "Chief, do you believe a man can ever truly escape his past?" Baraka's eyes shone with wisdom. "The past is like a river. You cannot stop it from flowing, but you can choose where you build your bridge. Why do you ask?" Because shadows follow me, Cato murmured, and I fear they will find me here. Baraka laid a hand on his shoulder. Then let them come. We will see whose truth is stronger, yours or theirs. Not long after, the dogs began barking. The compound walls echoed with shouts. Mosi had arrived. The first stone struck the outer gate and clattered to the ground. Then came another and another, until the night was full of thuds and taunts. Voices rose beyond the wall, rough and eager, the packed scent of fear masked as courage. Cato stood, heart pounding, as Chief Baraka's guards rushed to their posts. Mosi's voice cut through the noise like a whip. Bring out the boy. The stray belongs to the street. We've come to fetch what is ours. Chief Baraka stepped forward to the inner gate, staff in hand. You own nothing here, Mosi. Go home before foolishness devours you. Laughter rolled over the wall. Old man, Mosi called, you collect strays to polish your pride, but it takes more than pride to keep a boy safe. Open the gate, and no one gets hurt. Cato moved to the chief's side. I will not hide behind others, he said quietly. If this is my fight, let me face it. This is not only your fight, Baraka replied, but your choice matters. He looked into Cato's eyes. Will you stand, or will you run? I will stand, Cato said. I ran from hunger. I will not run from truth. The gate shuddered as a heavy blow slammed against it. A guard shouted, They have iron bars. Another answered, Brace it. The compound trembled with the press of bodies outside. Then, out of the darkness, a smaller shape slipped through the side garden gate and hurried toward them, breathless. Zola? She held up her hands before the guards could seize her. I came to help, she said. If you don't let me, he will be dragged into the street like a dog. Cato stared at her. You came back. I told you I would choose, she said, meeting his gaze. Tonight, I choose you. Chief Baraka studied her for a moment, then nodded. Tell me how he fights wolves. Zola moved closer, voice low and urgent. Mosi expects fear. Break the gate, flood the courtyard, seize the boy. But he also expects the guards to rush him. Don't. Make them come through a narrow place where numbers mean less. Keep your men back from the first rush and let the hotheads tire. Baraka gestured to a guard captain. You heard her. Prepare the narrow way. The captain signaled, and men hauled 2 heavy benches to form a funnel just inside the gate. Others braced shields and spears behind the choke point. The night hummed with a taut, waiting silence. Another slam. The gate groaned. Mosi shouted, Now! The hinges shrieked. The gate burst inward like a broken jaw. 5 of Mosi's boys poured through, expecting a soft courtyard and a scattered defense. Instead, they collided with the narrow passage and the unmoving line of Baraka's men. Shock stopped them. That pause cost them. Shields shoved, spear shafts struck. The boys stumbled backward, tripping over each other as more tried to push through the gap. Hold! The captain barked. The line did not break. Mosi's growl carried across the chaos. Again! A second wave crashed into the choke point. One boy leapt the bench and landed in front of Cato, swinging a club. Cato ducked and grabbed the boy's wrist, twisting it down, the club clattering to the stones. I don't want this, Cato said through his teeth. Go home. The boy glared, torn between pride and pain. Mosi owns us. No, Cato said. He only owns your fear. The boy wrenched free and stumbled back. Django appeared in the shattered gateway, eyes sweeping the scene. He saw Cato. He saw Baraka's line holding. He saw Mosi's face, rage tightening like a drum skin. For a long heartbeat, Django didn't move. Mosi shoved him. Go then. Prove you are not a stone. Django stepped forward, slow, deliberate. He stopped before the benches, meeting Kato's gaze across the narrow passage. Move, Mosey snapped. Django's voice was quiet. He is a boy. So were you, Mosey snarled, until hunger made you a man. Move. Django lifted his hands, empty. He looked at Kato, and something like apology passed between them. Then he turned his head and spoke to the crew behind him. Enough. Confusion rippled through the boys. What? Someone hissed. We don't stop until Mosey says. Django's jaw worked. He is under the chief's protection. We came to frighten him back, not to start a war with a man the city respects. We leave now, or we leave in chains. Mosey's face twisted. Traitor? Zola stepped into the light. No, Mosey. He is tired of being hungry in his soul. Mosey's eyes sharpened when he saw her. And you? You choose a stray over your family? I choose a future, Zola said. I choose a day when boys don't learn to eat by stealing. Mosey lunged, but she was ready. She slid back behind the benches as guards lowered their spears. He jerked to a halt, calculation flickering in his eyes. You think you can hide behind borrowed strength forever? He asked Kato. The city has a long memory and a short mercy. Kato stepped forward, hands open. I won't hide. I won't chase you either. Walk away tonight, Mosey. Let your boys live long enough to find something better. Something better? Mosey scoffed. Tell them fairy tales, boy. It will keep them warm when their bellies are empty. Warmth begins with one person refusing to feed the cold, Kato said. I refuse. The crew shifted, unsure. The line was no longer a line. It was a hinge, ready to swing either direction. Mosey felt it. He spat. We are done here, he said, but the words sounded like stone breaking. He pointed at Kato. This ends when you are back on the ground where you belong. He started to retreat, drawing the boys with him, when a loud cry erupted at the edge of the crowd outside the gate. A group of opportunists, not Mosey's core crew, but jackals drawn by the scent of a fight, threw stones and bottles into the courtyard. A shard sliced a guard's arm. The line wavered. One of the jackals rushed a side opening, forcing his way past a younger servant. He raised a knife and ran straight toward Kato. Zola moved without thinking. Kato! She screamed and hurled herself between the knife and the boy. The blade grazed her ribs and bit deep into her forearm. She hit the ground hard. Kato caught the attacker's wrist and, with a sharp twist taught by hard streets, forced the knife loose. He shoved the man back over the bench and into the waiting shield wall. The guard captain drove the intruder out with the flat of his spear. Kato fell to his knees beside Zola. Zola, stay with me. Blood darkened her shawl. He pressed his hands against the wound, voice shaking. Help! Cloth! Water! A servant sprinted with linen. Chief Baraka knelt, steady hands guiding Kato's. Here! Press like this. Good. Hold. Zola's breathing was ragged, but she managed a crooked smile. See? I told you. Sometimes the only way to protect a child is to walk beside wolves. You are no wolf, Kato said. You are the reason a boy can believe in mourning. She winced, squeezing his hand. Then take that mourning. Don't waste it. Outside, Django's voice rose with sudden force, roaring at the jackals. Enough! Back! You shame the street. Something in his tone, something that remembered a younger, truer self, made the hangers-on falter. They slunk away. Mosey stared at Django with a fury that promised a reckoning, then whirled and stormed off into the night. The crew scattered, pulled apart by a choice they had not expected to make. Silence settled like dust. The gate stood broken, but the courtyard still belonged to the chief. Baraka exhaled slowly. Take her inside, he said. Send for the healer. Two guards lifted Zola on a stretcher. She caught Cato's sleeve. "Listen," she whispered, breath thin. "When the time comes, go to the old records hall near the cathedral. Ask for the clerk named Mirembe. Tell her you carry a mark of the House of Kamau. She will know what to do." Her eyes fluttered. "Promise." "I promise," Cato said. They carried her away. Cato stood in the broken mouth of the gate, chest heaving, hands sticky with blood and sweat. Django lingered outside, framed by moonlight. He didn't step in. He didn't step back. He looked at Cato as though measuring a distance that could not be walked in a single night. "She chose you," Django said. "She chose hope," Cato answered. Django nodded once. "Hope is heavy. Wear it well." He turned and vanished into the alley, a shadow that had remembered it was once a man. Chief Baraka laid a hand on Cato's shoulder. "You did not run." "I could not," Cato said. "Not after all the times I was told I was nothing. Not after all the boys who watched to see if I would stand." Baraka's eyes softened. "Tonight, you stood for more than yourself." Cato looked at the shattered wood, the scattered stones, the blood darkening the dust. "Will they come back?" "Wolves always circle," Baraka said, "but they respect fire. And tonight, they learned this house carries flame." He glanced toward the inner rooms. "You should rest. Tomorrow we listen to what the necklace has to say. If Zola's words are true, the path ahead will be brighter and more dangerous." Cato touched the charm at his chest. It felt heavier, as though the metal had awakened. He closed his fingers around it and whispered, "I am ready." He did not sleep much. When dawn crept over the city, painting the broken gate gold, Cato stepped into the light with bandaged hands and a heart that felt both bruised and unbreakable. Somewhere beyond the markets, beyond the port, beyond the alleys where boys learned to steal to stay alive, a truth waited that could change everything. A truth about blood, about names, about legacies measured in more than money. He breathed in the morning and spoke to it like a friend. "I will not fail the ones who believed. I will not waste the pain that brought me here. I will become the success story they said could not exist. I will be the hidden heir who does not hide. And when I rise, billionaire or not, I will build a future where no child is ignored." The city answered with the clang of shop doors and the murmur of prayer. Cato turned toward the day, toward the records hall, toward the name that waited inside the necklace. The shadows had returned, but they had not won. And somewhere, in a room smelling of old paper and dust, Destiny was already clearing his throat, preparing to speak his true beginning. The morning after the attack, the air in Chief Baraka's compound was tense, but alive with a new kind of energy. The broken gate had been repaired hastily, the blood washed from the courtyard stones. Yet the memory of the night still clung to everyone. Guards moved with sharper eyes. Servants whispered in corners. Cato carried silence on his shoulders, the weight of Zola's sacrifice pressing against his heart. He sat beneath the mango tree, turning the necklace over in his palm again and again. The carved emblem caught the light, a pattern he had seen all his life, but never truly looked at until now. Zola's words echoed in his mind. "Go to the records hall. Speak to Mirembe. Tell her you carry the mark of the House of Kamau." Chief Baraka approached, his staff tapping softly against the stones. He lowered himself onto the bench beside Cato. For a moment he said nothing, simply watching the boy wrestle with his thoughts. Finally he spoke. "You have not slept." Cato shook his head. "How could I? Every time I close my eyes, I see her falling. She bled for me, Chief. Why would anyone do that?" "Because she saw in you what hunger could not kill," Baraka answered gently. "She saw a reason to believe." Cato's voice cracked. "And if she dies because of me, then you will live in a way that honors her. That is how we repay the ones who give their blood for us. The chief's eyes shifted to the necklace in Cato's hands. And you will begin by finding the truth of that. Cato lifted the pendant. You said it belonged to the house of Kamau, that my mother may have carried a secret. Baraka nodded. The Kamau family's mark is known among elders. It is not the kind of symbol an ordinary woman in a poor village would have for her child. If she gave this to you, it means something. We will go to the records hall today. Cato's stomach nodded. And if it is nothing? If it proves I am no one? Baraka smiled faintly. You are already someone, Cato. The question is only whether the world has yet to recognize it. By mid-morning, they walked together through the bustling heart of Lumbasa City. The records hall rose like an old sentinel beside the cathedral, its stone walls weathered by time, its wooden doors heavy with iron studs. Inside, the air smelled of parchment and dust, the kind of place where history itself seemed to breathe. Behind a wide desk piled with books sat a woman with braided hair streaked in silver. Her name tag read, Mirembe, senior clerk. She looked up as the chief entered, her sharp eyes softening in respect. Chief Baraka, you honor this place. And you honor history, Baraka replied. This boy has come seeking it. Mirembe's gaze shifted to Cato. She studied him with the keen eyes of one who had measured many lives through the weight of paper. What do you seek, child? Cato stepped forward, his hand trembling as he held out the necklace. The truth. My mother gave me this when she died. I was told it carries the mark of the house of Kamau. Do you know it? Mirembe's eyes widened as she took the pendant carefully. She ran her fingers over the symbol, her lips moving silently as if recalling something long memorized. She set it against an open book, flipping pages until her finger landed on a drawing nearly identical. Yes, she said at last, this is the crest of Alhaji Kamau, the billionaire industrialist. But more than that, it is not just his housemark. It is the personal seal given only to his heirs. Cato's breath caught. Heirs? Mirembe nodded. Each direct child of Alhaji Kamau was given such a necklace at birth. But there is a mystery. Years ago, it was whispered that he had a son in secret, from a woman who was not accepted by his powerful family. The child disappeared. Some said the woman fled to hide him. Some said she died. The story faded, buried by the Kamau family's wealth. Until now. Chief Baraka leaned on his staff. And you believe this boy is that child? I cannot prove it with words alone, Mirembe replied. But this emblem cannot be forged by any common hand. It is too intricate, too sacred. If this boy carries it, then he carries blood. Cato's knees weakened. He gripped the edge of the desk. You are saying I am his son? That I am the son of a billionaire? Mirembe's eyes softened. I am saying that your necklace speaks louder than your doubt. But bloodlines are complicated. The Kamau family is filled with greed and rivalry. If you go to them without proof, they will crush you. You will need allies. You will need strength greater than the hunger you have endured. Baraka placed a hand on Cato's shoulder. Then we begin by protecting the truth. Mirembe, what records can confirm this? She nodded, pulling down an old register bound in leather. Birth records, family ledgers, contracts of inheritance. If his mother's name is listed here, it will link him directly. She flipped carefully, the sound of pages echoing like a heartbeat. Cato leaned forward, his chest tight, his breath shallow. Then her finger stopped on a name. Nia, she read, a village woman. She bore a child for Alhaji Kamau 18 years ago. But the record was marked disputed. The entry was hidden under layers of red tape, as though someone wanted it forgotten. Cato's hands trembled. Nia, that was my mother's name. The room fell silent. Baraka's voice was steady. Then the truth has begun to speak. This boy is no orphan of chance. He is the hidden heir of one of the wealthiest men in Africa. Mirembe closed the book slowly, her face grave. But beware, if this becomes known too quickly, the Kamau family will not welcome him with open arms. Power clings to itself. Wealth does not share easily. There will be resistance. There will be danger. Cato swallowed hard. Let them resist. I have faced hunger. I have faced whips. I have faced the streets. I will not run from blood that is mine. Baraka's eyes gleamed with pride, spoken like a son who has begun to know himself. Mirembe's words hung in the air like a bell still ringing. Cato stood very still, the leather-bound register staring back at him like a mirror that had finally learned his name. He touched the necklace and closed his fingers around it, as if a hand from the past had just gripped his own. What happens now? He asked. We make the truth harder to bury, Mirembe said. I will copy these entries and certify them. One copy stays here, sealed. One goes with Chief Baraka. One goes with you. Cato swallowed. If I carry proof, will the billionaire accept me? Baraka answered softly. Accepting truth is not the same as seeing it. Powerful men do not always see what is in front of them. Mirembe dipped her pen and began writing. There is one more step, she said. A private confirmation. Alhaji Kamau has a personal counsel, Mr. Kofi Adu. He is known for fairness. If anyone can place this before the man himself without it being crushed by greedy relatives, it is he. Kato's voice trembled. Will he meet me? Not if I ask, Mirembe said, signing and stamping the copy. But he will if Chief Baraka asks. Baraka nodded. I will send a message today. They left the hall with papers wrapped in cloth and sealed with wax. Outside, the city's noise felt different, as if it were somehow aware of Cato's changed breath. He walked beside the chief in silence until they reached the road. There, Cato stopped. Chief, he said, may I go to the clinic first? Zola. Baraka's eyes warmed. Yes. We honor the wounded before we honor the wealthy. At the small clinic near the market, the air smelled of herbs. Zola lay on a narrow bed, bandages clean around her arm and ribs. Her eyes opened when Cato's voice touched her name. You are still alive, she whispered. So are you, he said, pulling a stool close. The healer says you were stubborn. I told him that is the only way you walk. Zola gave a faint smile. Did you find the truth? Cato looked down at the sealed bundle and then back at her. I found a door. We are about to knock. Good, she said. Knock hard. Baraka stepped forward. Rest, daughter. The city will ask more of you yet. Then let it wait one day, Zola murmured, closing her eyes. They left quietly. By evening, a messenger had slipped through the city to the offices of Kofi Adu. At dawn, a reply arrived, written in a steady hand. Come tomorrow at noon. Discretion essential. Cato read the words twice and felt the ground tilt beneath his feet. The next day, they took a quiet road to a quiet building where quiet men made loud decisions. A receptionist led them to a private room. Soon, a man entered with measured steps, calm eyes behind simple spectacles. Kofi Adu. He introduced himself, shaking Chief Baraka's hand. His gaze turned to Cato, and for a long breath he seemed to weigh the boy against some memory. And you must be the one the city will one day talk about too loudly. Cato stood straight. If they talk, let it be for the right reasons. Good answer, Adu said. Show me what you have. Mirembe's certified copy lay on the table. The lawyer read in silence, then examined the necklace with care only a lifetime of caution can teach. He returned both items and took a breath that sounded like a verdict without words. Records can be forged, he said. This one does not smell of fraud, But families, when very rich, can pretend not to smell truth. I will not call the house. I will call the man. You can reach him? Baraka asked. Adu nodded. He trusts few. I am among them. He placed a private call and spoke very little. When he ended, he said, Alhaji will see you tomorrow. No entourage, no noise. Kato's mouth went dry. He knows who I am. He knows a boy is coming with his seal, Adu replied. He knows a name that never left his blood. Cato looked at his hands. They were the same hands that had held a cracked bowl, swept a market floor, and begged the wind to be kind. Now they were being asked to knock on the door of a billionaire. He flexed his fingers and nodded. That night, Chief Baraka made a small meal and insisted Cato eat, though the boy's stomach was tight with fear and hope. When darkness settled, Baraka spoke. No matter what happens, your worth is not measured by any man's acceptance, he said. But if the door opens, walk in with your head high. If it closes, we find another door. Cato touched the necklace. If I am his son, why was I left in the village? Questions are rivers, Baraka answered. Cross them one at a time. Morning came with a slow light. Adu's car took them to a private residence hidden behind high walls and old trees. At the door, security checked nothing. Adu's name had already melted the locks. Inside, the rooms were quiet and tasteful. This was not a palace of noise. It was a fortress of decisions. Cato stood in a doorway and saw a man by the window, gray at the temples, shoulders that had carried continents, eyes that had watched empires rise from contracts and fall from carelessness. The billionaire did not turn until the room was ready to hear him. Alhaji Kamau, Adu said gently. This is Kato. Kamau faced the boy. Time did a strange thing. It both sped and slowed. The man's gaze fell immediately to the necklace, then to Cato's face, then back to the necklace as if the metal itself were speaking a language his heart remembered. Where did you get that? Kamau asked, voice low. My mother put it around my neck when I was born, Cato answered. Her name was Nia. Kamau closed his eyes. His hand gripped the back of a chair until the leather creaked. When he spoke, the words were thick. Nia was a good woman, the best I ever failed. He stepped closer, stopping a breath away. You should have grown in a house of safety, he said. You did not. For that, I carry shame. He looked to Adu, then to Baraka, then back to Kato. If the world were only heart, I would take you in the second and never let you go. But the world is also paper, and paper is wicked. We will confirm with blood. Not because I doubt what my eyes see, because the wolves will. I understand, Cato said. A nurse entered quietly, took vials, sealed them, and left. Kamau sat, and the room sat with him. Tell me your life, he said. Cato spoke of Mbiru village, of porridge like water, of Mama Abina's cane, of Auntie Halima's mercy, of Mosey's hunger, of Zola's blood, of Baraka's roof, of a market that accused, and a city that almost swallowed him. He did not decorate the pain. He did not tear it thin. He told it as a ledger, not to gain pity, but to count what it had cost. Kamau listened without interruption. When the boy finished, the man's hands were folded as prayer and verdict at once. Hunger made you lean, he said. It did not make you small. If the test says what my heart believes, then the law will accept what destiny has already decided. A door opened. Footsteps. A woman entered with a folder. Not the nurse. Another presence entirely. Elegant, careful, eyes like polished stone. She nodded at Adu, then at Baraka, then at Kato, as if measuring him with rulers no one else could see. This is Adisa, Kamau said, my sister. Her smile was thin. Family is complicated, she said to Kato, especially when fortunes are large and names are old. I did not come for your fortune, Cato replied. I came for my mother's truth. Adisa's brows lifted a fraction. Good sentence. We will see if you can keep speaking like that when cameras chase you. Kamal's voice cut through the tension. Enough. This is not for cameras. This is for a table that should have had one more chair. Adisa turned to him. Brother, you know how this will be received. The board, the cousins, the ones who have been polishing their claims for decades. The word billionaire attracts insects. We will wake a swarm. Then let them wake, Kamal said. I am tired of sleeping beside lies. Adu's phone vibrated once. He glanced, then stood. The lab rushed what they could. Preliminary match is strong. Final confirmation in a day, but it will be very hard for anyone honest to argue. Silence rippled and settled. Kamal looked at Cato with something like a sunrise behind his eyes. Son, he said, and the word seemed to clean the air, we will proceed carefully. We will not feed the swarm. We will invite those who must be invited to a private hearing. We will place the paper beside the blood and let them see. After that, let noise do as it wishes. Cato's throat tightened. I don't know how to live in your world. You will not live in my world, Kamal said. You will build yours. If you are mine, we will begin with what you already promised. No child goes hungry where your hand can reach, Baraka smiled. Then the boy's vow has found a house. Adisa closed the folder softly. Prepare yourself, she said to Cato. The next room is not a clinic. It is a courtroom without robes. People will smile while sharpening knives. I have eaten with hunger, Cato replied. Knives do not scare me. Adu nodded toward the door. Tomorrow, then. The family council. They stood. Kamal placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, a touch that was both apology and claim. When they look at you, he said, let them see what they refuse to see in your mother, a truth that does not ask permission. Cato met his eyes. I will. Outside, the city moved as always. Horns, prayers, bargains, secrets. Inside, a different motion had begun. Papers were being drawn. Calls were being placed. Rooms were being prepared where wealth would try to argue with blood. Cato walked out with the seal under his shirt, the copies in his hand, and the word son beating in his chest like a drum. He looked up and whispered to the woman he had never stopped missing. Mother, I found the door. Tomorrow, I walk through it. The wind answered with a hush that felt like a blessing, and the boy the world had ignored stepped toward a table that had waited too long for his chair. The following day, Cato stood before the mirror in Chief Baraka's guest room, tugging nervously at the collar of the clean shirt Auntie Halima had pressed for him. It was the first time he had worn clothes that weren't patched or torn. The fabric felt stiff, unfamiliar, as though it belonged to another boy. Baraka entered quietly, staff tapping. You look uneasy. Cato glanced at him. I feel like a thief in someone else's skin. These clothes, they don't feel like mine. The chief smiled faintly. Clothes never make the man. They only remind others what he might be. Today they will try to dress you with their words. Bastard, imposter, fortune seeker. You must answer with more than fabric. You must answer with truth. Cato swallowed hard. What if they refuse to believe? Then believe yourself twice as much, Baraka said. The world respects those who refuse to shrink. By noon, they were at the Kamal family estate. The gates loomed tall, the ground sprawling with manicured gardens and white pillars that gleamed in the sun. Cato's stomach twisted as the car rolled to a stop. He whispered under his breath, This is the world that forgot me. Inside, the family council chamber buzzed with voices. Relatives filled the seats, cousins, uncles, half-brothers and sisters, each dressed in wealth like armor. At the head sat Alhaji Kamal himself, stern and unreadable. Beside him, Adisa, his sister, with eyes like sharpened glass. When Cato entered with Chief Baraka and Kofi Adu, the room grew quiet. 100 eyes measured him, weighed him, tried to pin him to the floor. Cato stood straighter, though his palms were damp. "This is the boy," Adisa said, her tone smooth but cutting. "The boy who claims to be Kamau's son." "I claim nothing," Cato said firmly. "I came only with truth. My mother's name was Nia. She gave me this necklace, marked with your seal. The records bear her name. The blood tests confirm the tie. Whether you accept me or not, I am who I am." A murmur rippled through the room. One of the cousins, a man with a round belly and rings on every finger, scoffed. "A street rat with a trinket and a story? Lies can be bought, records forged. How convenient he appears when the old man's health falters." Kamau's eyes flashed. "Enough. He did not buy his hunger. He did not forge his scars. Let him speak." Cato stepped forward, his voice steady though his heart thundered. "I do not come for your money. I do not come for your houses. I come for my name, for my mother's honor, for the chance to prove that a boy the world ignored can rise, not to take from you, but to build something greater." Another relative, a woman with jewels dripping from her wrists, leaned forward. "And what will you build, boy? You speak like a preacher. Do you know how to manage empires? How to balance billions?" Cato met her gaze. "I know how to balance hunger against hope. I know how to turn nothing into survival. I know the value of food because I have starved. I know the value of dignity because it was denied me. If I can turn hunger into strength, then I can turn wealth into something greater than greed." Baraka's staff tapped once against the marble floor. "Well spoken." But Adisa's lips curved in a cool smile. "Words are easy. Let him prove them." At that moment, the doors banged open. Mosi strode in, flanked by 2 of his boys. His grin was a wound that never healed. Family meetings without inviting the streets? How rude. Guards moved to block him, but he raised a hand. "Relax. I only came to tell you something useful. That boy you're all arguing about? He is no saint. He lived with us. He stole with us. He's dirt wrapped in borrowed cloth. Do you want such dirt in your house of gold?" Gasps spread through the council. Cato's jaw clenched. "That's a lie. I never stole for you," Mosi laughed. "He forgets the bread he ate from my hand, the nights he slept in my den. The boy is mine. If you claim him, you inherit his shadows." Zola's voice rang from the back. She had come, pale but standing, her arm still bandaged. "Lies. He never stole. He refused again and again, even when it meant going hungry. I saw it with my own eyes." Mosi's face darkened. "You betray me again, Zola?" "I choose truth," she said, her voice trembling but fierce. "I choose him." The room erupted in noise. Relatives argued, guards shouted, voices clashed. Cato's head spun, the weight of eyes pressing like stones. But he lifted his chin and raised his voice above the chaos. "I am not ashamed of where I came from. Yes, I slept in alleys. Yes, I ate scraps. Yes, I stood among thieves. But I did not let the streets own me. I chose a different road, and I will keep choosing it. If that makes me unworthy of the Kamau name, then so be it. But do not say I am a liar. My scars speak the truth." The noise stilled. Even Mosi faltered, his smirk fading slightly. Kamau rose slowly from his seat. His voice was calm but carried the weight of decades. "The boy has spoken. Tomorrow, the council will vote. Until then, he stays under my roof. If anyone seeks to harm him before that, they harm me." Adisa leaned toward her brother. "This is folly." "No," Kamau said, eyes on Cato. "This is fate." Night fell over the Kamau estate like a curtain drawn before a difficult play. Cato stood on a balcony, fingers curled around the cool iron rail. the city's distant lights blinking like answers he could not yet read. Behind him, footsteps approached, measured, careful. Adisa joined him, arms folded. "You held your ground," she said. "I told the truth," Cato replied. "Truth is rarely enough," she said softly, "but sometimes it is the only thing that survives." He faced her. "Will they vote me out?" "They will try to vote you into silence," she said. "There is a difference." Kofi Adu stepped into the doorway. "The council reconvenes at 10. Final lab report will arrive in the morning, but we can submit the preliminary now." Cato nodded. "And Mosi?" "Security escorted him out," Adu said. "But vermin know how to find cracks." Adisa glanced at Cato. "Stay in the East Wing tonight. 2 guards outside your door. Not for comfort, for clarity." Cato managed a small smile. "Clarity is more than I had on the streets." When they left, he touched the necklace, then whispered into the dark, "Mother, stand with me." Sleep came in short, frayed threads. Before dawn, a soft knock. Chief Baraka entered, carrying a thermos of tea that smelled like home. "Drink," he said. "Strength first, fear after." Cato took a sip, warmth spreading through him. "Did you ever face a room full of people who wanted you small?" Baraka's eyes twinkled. "Many times. They won some days. I won the years." The council chamber was fuller than before. News had already leaked at the edges. A hidden heir, a billionaire's blood, a rags to riches rumor strong enough to bend conversations. Cato felt the attention before he felt the air. Adisa opened proceedings crisply. "We will hear evidence, then closing statements, then a vote." She nodded to Adu. He placed documents on the long table, certified records from the Lumbasa archives, witness statements. Chain of custody for the pendant, preliminary DNA correlation, strong match, murmurs. A cousin leaned forward. "Preliminary is not final." "Nor is opinion," Adu replied. Another uncle cleared his throat. "Even if blood says yes, who vouches for character? The Kamau name is more than paper. It is conduct. We are a house of billionaires and millionaires, of contracts and councils. Can a street boy carry that weight?" Cato spoke before anyone else could answer. "I carried hunger," he said. "If you want a man who knows what wealth is for, find one who is starved. I am not your PR story. I am your missing truth." A door at the side opened. Django stepped in, hat in hand, escorted by security but not shackled. The room tensed. Adu lifted a palm toward the guards. "He is on my witness list." Adisa arched a brow. "Explain." Django stood at the edge, like a cliff that had learned humility. "My name is Django," he said. "I was Mosey's right hand. I saw the boy Cato among us. He refused to steal. Every time he refused. You can say many things about him. Thief is not one." Silence stretched, then rippled. The round-bellied cousin scoffed. "A criminal vouching for a claimant? We are meant to cheer?" "Not cheer," Django said. "Listen, some of you live in rooms where floors don't move. The street is a boat. To keep your balance there is work. This boy stood straight in waves I could not." Kato looked at him. Their eyes met. Things unspoken made a small bridge. Adu nodded to a guard. "Bring in the next witness." Auntie Halima entered with a tray. She refused to walk anywhere without her purpose, and set it down with a clatter that made jewel wearers flinch. "I am Halima," she announced. "This boy worked at my stall. Swept, carried, cooked. He brought home pay the honest way. If anyone says otherwise, may their pot burn and their stew sour." A few suppressed smiles surfaced. Truth sometimes wore the right apron. "And one more," Adu said gently. Zola stepped in, pale but upright, sleeve pinned above fresh stitches. The room leaned forward. Mosi was not in the chamber, but his shadow seemed to drag behind her. I am Zola, she said. I bled in Chief Baraka's courtyard because I chose the boy's future over my past's fear. He never stole. He could have taken food, coin, safety, and he chose hunger. If that is not the beginning of a Kamal, then I don't know what your name is worth. Adisa's eyes softened for the first time. You may sit, Zola. Adu gathered the statements, slid a sealed envelope across to Adisa. And here is the lab's early confirmation. A second independent test is en route. Adisa broke the seal, scanned, then passed the paper to Kamal. The billionaire read it once, then again, slower. His shoulders eased like a man who had been holding his breath for years. He stood. We have heard witnesses. We have read papers. We have tested blood. Now we test intention. He faced Cato. What do you want if this house accepts you? Cato met his eyes. I want the truth of my mother recognized. I want a chance to learn, to work, to build something larger than myself. I want to create a foundation so no child in Limbasa sleeps hungry. I want apprenticeships funded for street boys and girls. I want to turn Billionaire into a promise, not a headline. A long, thin cousin sneered, philanthropy as cover. Classic. Cato didn't blink. Not cover. Compass. The round-bellied cousin slammed a palm on the table. I moved to reject the claim until final reports arrive and the board reviews reputational risk. Adisa's gaze cut to him. Duly noted. Counter motion. Kamal's voice was steady steel. I move for provisional recognition. Kato, son of Naya, acknowledge as my son pending final confirmation. He is to be under my protection and tutelage. He receives no asset transfers today. He receives education, mentors, and the right to a seat at this table when his learning begins. A low wave passed through the chamber, a compromise that gave the swarm less sugar. Seconded, said Adisa, after a heartbeat that surprised the room. We vote! Hands rose, some swift, some grudging, some trembling. Adisa counted, lips barely moving. Motion passes, she said. For a moment, Kato could not hear the room. It was as if the world had stepped away and left him alone with one echo. Son. Kamal moved to him and placed a hand over the necklace. You enter not as a headline, but as a craft. We will shape what this means, for you and for us. The doors blew open before anyone could exhale. A guard stumbled in, face pale. There's been an incident at the gate. Adisa's tone dropped into command. Explain. Someone released a video, he said, voice shaking. Claims the boy is a fraud. Shows him. Stealing. A cold murmur crawled across the floor. The round-bellied cousin smiled like a man who had just found his favorite hammer. Put it on the screen, Adisa ordered. The wall lit up. Grainy footage. A market. A boy darting. A purse lifted. A run through a crowd. The camera angled just so. The face, blurry, but passable. The commentator's voice dripped poison. Street rat climbs into Billionaire's house. That is not me, Cato said, calm but loud. That angle is wrong. The scar on the thief's jaw. I don't have one. Slow it. A tech complied, frame by frame. Adu leaned close. Freeze. Zoom. They zoomed on the thief's ear. An earring glinted. Triangular, carved with a snake. Jingo exhaled. That's Kito, he said quietly. Mosi's boy. Same build as Kato. Same haircut since last month. Mosi is fabricating. Adu nodded. Chain the metadata. He typed rapidly, then turned the screen to Adisa. Upload time, source server, routing through a shell that traces back to an internet cafe near the port market. Mosi's hunting ground. Adisa's gaze swept the room. Whoever doubts can keep doubting. I will keep reading. Another guard hurried in with a courier pouch. Adu tore it open, scanned, then lifted his eyes. Final lab report, he said. Confirmed. Kato, biological son of Alhaji Kamau. Silence, then a sound not unlike a prayer. Kamau's jaw tightened and then eased, as if a weight had broken and fallen off a long bridge. Adisa closed her notebook. The vote stands, now with blood that argues louder than gossip. She looked toward the doors. Issue a statement. The Kamau family acknowledges Kato, son of Naya. No further comment. Simple, clean. We do not feed hyenas. The round-bellied cousin pushed back his chair and stalked out. Others followed, some with stiff nods to Kamau, some avoiding Kato's eyes, a few offering him small, awkward smiles that might one day become welcome. In the quiet that remained, Zola stood, swaying a little. Kato rushed to steady her. She smiled. I told you, knock hard. He laughed, a wet sound that surprised him. You knocked with your blood. Adu pocketed the reports. Security will escort you to a side exit. The front is flooded with cameras. Kamau squeezed Kato's shoulder. Come, your first lesson begins now. How to walk through noise without swallowing it. They stepped into a narrower corridor, the hum of the city pressing against the walls. Django waited in the shadow, cap in hand. I'll keep an eye on the alleys, he said. Mosi won't forgive losing the story he tried to write. Kato clasped his hand. When I build the foundation, you'll run the apprenticeships. No boys learn the street if they can learn a trade. Django's eyes shone. I will be ready. Outside, the late sun threw long gold across the drive. Reporters' voices rose beyond the hedge like the sea. Kato paused with Kamau, Baraka, Adisa, Zola, Adu, a strange new circle forged by paper, blood, and decision. Kato looked at them and then at the world beyond the wall. This is not the end of a story, he said quietly. It is the start of the work. Baraka smiled. Work is the only crown that fits for long. Adisa opened the side gate. Go, hidden heir, she murmured. Be hidden no more. They walked out together, not to the cameras, but to the road that led to Section 8, the place where a homeless boy finally chose what kind of billionaire's son he would be, and what kind of future his name could buy for those still ignored. The days that followed the council's decision were unlike anything Kato had ever known. He no longer slept on mats or under bridges. He was given a room in the Kamau estate, modest compared to the sprawling wealth around him, but to Kato it felt like a palace. The bed was soft, the sheets smelled of jasmine, and for the first time in his life, he did not fall asleep with an empty belly. Yet even surrounded by comfort, he carried the memories of porridge as thin as water, the echo of Mama Abena's cane, the nights when hunger gnawed his bones. Comfort did not erase them. If anything, it sharpened his resolve. He reminded himself daily, I am not here only to enjoy. I am here to change what hunger did to me. Alhaji Kamau spent hours with him, sometimes in his study, sometimes walking the gardens. The billionaire spoke slowly, choosing his words with the care of a man who had built empires with contracts. You must learn, he said one afternoon, that money is both weapon and medicine. It heals if you wield it with wisdom. It destroys if you use it in arrogance. My other children know the weight of privilege. You must know the weight of purpose. Kato listened, absorbing each word. I don't want privilege. I want power to feed others, Kamau nodded. Then you already think differently than most. Good. But purpose without patience burns out. Learn patience. News of Kato's existence spread beyond the estate, despite Adisa's careful press statement. Some papers called him the street prince. Others mocked him as the beggar heir. Whispers filled the city markets, some in awe, some in scorn. Yet wherever he walked now, heads turned. He was no longer invisible. One afternoon, while leaving a meeting with Kofi Adu, Kato heard a vendor whisper, That boy was once sleeping under my stall. Another replied, now he is Kamau's son. Perhaps there is hope for my child, too. The word struck Kato's heart like a drum beat. He returned home that evening and told Baraka, if my story makes them hope, then I must not waste it. Hope must not die in gossip. It must become bread. Baraka smiled. Then speak it into existence. What foundation will you build? Cato spent long nights drafting ideas with Adu, sketching plans on scraps of paper. We will call it the Nia Foundation, he said, voice firm. Name for my mother. It will feed street children, fund schools, train apprentices, not just handouts, but ladders. Zola, still recovering but stronger each day, listened from her chair by the window. You will be attacked, she warned. Mosey will not stop. The greedy relatives will not rest. Even the poor will sometimes curse you when you cannot give enough. I know, Cato said, but hunger attacked me first. I am only fighting back. Django joined one evening, his cap in his hands. You said I'd run apprenticeships. I don't know books, but I know hands. I can teach carpentry, brickwork, repairs. Give me boys who would otherwise steal, and I will give you men who can stand tall. Cato clasped his arm. Then you are the first pillar of the foundation. In time, Alhaji Kamau himself announced publicly, this is my son, Cato, child of Nia. He bears my blood and my name. He will learn our businesses, but more than that, he will lead a new vision for the Kamau family, one that builds, not just owns. The statement rippled across the continent. Billionaire boards debated it, investors questioned it, relatives fumed, but the people, those who lived in hunger and hope, cheered. They saw in Cato not just wealth, but possibility. Still, acceptance inside the family was not simple. Some cousins refused to greet him, whispering behind closed doors. At one dinner, the round-bellied cousins sneered openly. Enjoy your charity work, street boy. Leave real business to those who understand it. Cato met his gaze calmly. Real business is not measured only in profits. It is measured in lives changed. If you count only coins, you will always be poor. The table went silent. Even Adisa, who often pressed him hardest, smiled faintly behind her glass. Later, she pulled him aside. You learn quickly, she said, but remember, wit wins a night. Strategy wins a decade. I will learn strategy, Cato promised. The following weeks tested him. Mosey's fabricated video still circled online, stirring doubt. But Cato did not hide. He visited the orphanage in Imbiru village, walked its cracked floors, and faced Mama Abina herself. She stared at him, shock in her eyes. You? Here? In those clothes? I came to see the children, Cato said. Not you, she sneered. So you are a rich man's son now. I told you once you were nothing. You told me lies, Cato said firmly. But lies do not last. The children deserve better than this place. The Nia Foundation will rebuild this orphanage. They will eat until their stomachs are full, and they will never again be told they are nothing. The children cheered, their eyes wide with joy. Mama Abina's face twisted, but her voice was small. You speak like a man I cannot strike. Because I am no longer a boy you can starve, Cato answered. He walked away, the necklace gleaming against his chest, the children's laughter following him like a crown. Weeks turned into months, and the city of Limbasa began to learn a new rhythm, the rhythm of a name that had once been ignored, now carried in headlines and in whispers with equal weight. Kato Kamau, once a boy begging for scraps in the market, was now seated at tables where billionaires spoke of investments and millionaires argued over influence. But unlike the others, he never forgot where he came from. The Nia Foundation took shape quickly. A warehouse near the docks was converted into a training center. Orphans and street children came hesitantly at first, suspicious that promises of help were traps, but they found food, teachers, and apprenticeships waiting. Django stood at the front of one class, showing boys how to cut wood straight. Auntie Halima taught girls how to prepare meals they could sell in the market. Zola, though still recovering, began organizing programs for young women who had been trapped by men like Mosi. Cato visited daily. He walked the halls, spoke to the children, ate meals with them. "Do not bow your heads," he told them. "You are not less than anyone. I was once here, hungry like you. If I can rise, so can you." The children repeated his words like prayer. If I can rise, so can you. But shadows still lingered. Mosey had not vanished. Rumors swirled that he was gathering his crew again, this time not to steal coins, but to strike fear. Some said he had allies among jealous relatives, men who saw in Cato a threat to their power. Chief Baraka warned him, "When wealth is given, enemies multiply. They will not strike you only with fists. They will strike you with doubt, with scandal, with whispers. Guard not just your body, but your name." "I will," Cato promised. One night, as Cato left the foundation, Mosi appeared in the alley, leaning against the wall with his gold tooth glinting in the dim light. "You live in palaces now," he sneered. "Do you think that makes you better than us?" "It does not make me better," Cato said calmly, "but it gives me power to build what you could not." Mosi spat. "You stole my family, Django, Zola. Even the boys whisper your name like it is hope. You think I'll let you keep it?" "You never owned them," Cato replied. "You only own their fear. Fear is not family. Fear is not forever." Mosey's eyes narrowed. "You may have money now, boy, but I have time. Time wears down even the proudest walls." "Then I will build walls of people," Cato said, stepping closer. "Walls of children fed, taught, and strong. You cannot wear that down." For a long moment they stared at each other, two paths that had once crossed and now diverged forever. Then Mosey slipped back into the dark, his laughter echoing like a warning. Despite threats, the work grew. Cato began studying under Adisa, learning the mathematics of empires, contracts, investments, negotiations. She was relentless, testing him with questions that twisted like knives. "If you have 10 million to invest, do you feed 1,000 mouths today or build a farm that feeds 10,000 tomorrow? If your name rises, will you let your story be sold to the highest bidder, or will you protect it?" Cato's answers grew sharper. "Feed the 1,000 now, build the farm tomorrow, protect the story, but let it inspire." Adisa began to respect him, though she never said it outright. One evening she closed her notebook and said, "You remind me of your mother. She was not afraid to fight with words sharper than swords." He felt a lump in his throat. "You knew her?" Adisa nodded. "She came here once, before she fled. She asked me to watch over you if she did not survive. I did not. I let fear rule me. Forgive me." Cato touched her hand gently. "Then let us not waste what is left. Help me build what she dreamed." And so together they worked. Months later, Alhaji Kamal stood beside his son at the opening ceremony of the Nia Foundation's new orphanage in Biru village. The same place where Cato had once begged Mama Abena for food now had clean walls, bright classrooms, and children laughing with full bellies. Kamal's voice carried over the crowd. Once, this boy was ignored. Once, this boy was told he was nothing. Today, I name him not only my son, but my pride. May the world learn that wealth is not only for comfort, it is for change. The crowd erupted in cheers. Children chanted Cato's name. Zola wiped tears from her eyes. Django raised a fist in salute. Cato stepped forward, his heart full. I was once a homeless boy everyone ignored. Today, I stand as a billionaire's son, but that title means nothing if I stand alone. From this day, every child who has been ignored will stand with me. This is not the end of my story. This is the beginning of ours. The sun burned gold across the village, lighting up the faces of children who no longer looked down at their feet, but up toward a future they could believe in. And somewhere beyond the crowd, unseen but surely watching, Nia's spirit smiled. Her son had found his place. And so, what began as the story of a homeless boy turned into a legacy of hope, truth, and destiny. But remember, life's greatest treasures are often hidden in the most broken places. This was another tale from African Tales by Sanan. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from and at what time. We love hearing from you. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next suspenseful journey we bring to you.